there.
What's your dad's name?
Abraham Prel.
I don't know.
And he said it might be your speed.
How do you spell Prel?
Prel. Preil. Where are you from in America?
I'm from Israel.
Oh, you're from here.
Okay. It started?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. We're learning Messilat Yesharim. For Pinchas here, we'll just give you a quick introduction that this is the number one most studied book after the Bible in the Jewish library. So there's books that tell you what to do, there's books that tell you why to do it, and there's books that tell you how to become a good person. Not a person who does a good act. We're talking about building character, building your personality. The opposite of building character is building image. An image is an external thing, and in turn, how do you change? How do you build your character? So this book basically tells you how to deal with 4 issues that are very important. How to have Yirat Hashem, which is how to be in admiration of God. 2, how to love God. 2 is how to develop your character.
Okay.
What we call halachta bidrachav. 3, how to love God. 4, how to do it with all your heart and all your soul, and with all your intentions. So those are the 4 things that this book deals with. The layout of the book, we're in the 10th chapter now. So the layout of the book is basically, there's 3 goals for this book. Goal number 1 is what's called to become a tzaddik. A tzaddik, here it is. A tzaddik is somebody who does what is expected of him. Everybody is expected to become a tzaddik, to serve God in a full way, to do what is expected of you. And those are 3, there's 3 steps, there's 3 character traits that you need to have in order to have this. One is called zehirut, zirizut, and nekiyut. Okay? In other words, if you want to be a perfect servant of God,
careful, quick, and clean.
Exactly. Do it careful, quick, and clean. If you want to be a servant of God, there's 2 things you have to have. You have to be zehirut, means stay away from the mitzvah, what God says, prohibitions, what's called sur mira. Stay away from the mitzvot lo taseh, everything God says don't do. But not just how do I not do it, we're not talking about this detail, that detail. How do I build a personality? Stays away from bad. What God says is bad. Zrizut is how do I build a personality that's full of passion, full of excitement, to run after the zrizut, the mitzvot aseh, right? The proactive. Like we said, for a fish to be kosher, it has to have 2 character qualities. It has to have external qualities. It has to have fins and scales. Scales is the armor, which is the protection. Don't do bad. But if you don't have the fins, if you're stagnant, if you are just locking yourself in the room and I'm not doing anything wrong, you're not kosher. It has to have both of those signs, which is also fins, the movement, going out there, doing positive. It's not enough to just do negative. It's 2 sides of one coin. You have to have zeirut, zrizut. Basically, if you have these 2 characters, you are tzaddik. The next step is to become what's called a chassid. A chassid is someone who goes above the letter of the law. Expected. Doesn't just do what is expected. But a tzaddik, a chassid is someone who goes above what's expected. If you don't do above what's expected, you're okay. You're still a tzaddik. And then there's a kadosh. Someone who kadosh is someone who has no other reality besides serving God, who can reach. This book is basically a guidebook on how to get Ruach HaKodesh. This book is a book that Ramchal wrote 300 years ago, after there was the breakdown of Shabtai Tzvi, the false Messiah, and the majority of the Jewish people believed he was the Messiah. When it came out, turned out that he was raping women and children and all kinds of other horrible things, and he converted to Islam. There was a very big breakdown, spiritual breakdown in Judaism. And that's when the Ramchal said, now it's time to write a book that shows you the difference between a righteous man, tzaddik, a real person, a person you want to connect to. Because, like we see in the news every day, there's like this agenda to show that the rabbis are all corrupt, are all involved in immoral relations and all kinds of other things. Why is there such a push to try to catch the rabbis and try to show and always try to advertise it when 99.9% of the rabbis are holy, righteous people? But why they try to push it? For the same reason we know the Gemara of the man that made a bet of hundreds of thousands of dollars with his friend. 400 zuz in those days was like enough money to live for a year, like very, very well. What was the bet? I can get Hillel angry. You know that story?
Is this on one foot?
I bought my son a
No.
book. I have the
It's similar.
book for it.
It's not.
Kids
It's not on one foot. That's another story. There was a story where there was two people. They made a bet. I can get Hillel angry. He was known to be such a moral, good person, and they said, "How we get him angry?" They went down Erev Shabbos, right? The pressure of right before Shabbos is a difficult time, and he went there and he started asking ridiculous questions. Why do people have square heads? Why do people have eyes that are like this? Why do people have feet that are wide? All kinds of questions just to get him angry. And Hillel, every time he was asked a question, he had to come up from the bathhouse, get dressed, sit down, hear the question. And the question was just there to get him angry. He didn't want an answer, but he gave him a beautiful answer and he explained him everything with patience. So what was the reason why people are willing to pay so much money to show how bad the rabbis are? Because then you're off the hook. If the rabbi, who you expect him to be this moral, holy person, if he is off with women doing all kinds of things, then what do you want from me? I can go off with anybody, I can do whatever they want because I'm a regular person. So people will pay a lot of money, and the media will do a lot of coverage on the stories of the rabbis that go off. It's true, there are rabbis that do go off. But a rabbi, 99.9%, are holy people, and this is what I understand. So this book is a guidebook on how to have Ruach HaKodesh on one hand. The other reason is for you to understand who are the people that you are connected to. What are the steps they took? This is a book of someone who went through the jungle, got lost, went through the jungle, came out on the other side, and wrote a book how you get there. You want to have Ruach HaKodesh, you want to be connected to Ruach HaKodesh. So what we study in the yeshivas are only this, how to become a tzaddik, together. On your own, this is what's obligation. On your own, you want to discover who these people are, or you want to grow yourself, go do things above the letter of the law. You learn on your own with a chavruta, or that's a private thing. But as what's expected of everybody is to become a tzaddik. So basically, what does it mean to be a tzaddik? We are in chapter 11, which is cleanliness. Sorry, 10. 11 is the next. So the Ramchal will start off, we'll explain it through the reading of this, we'll explain it from the reading of Ramchal. Okay, let's start. מידת הנקיות היא יודות האדם נקי לגמרי מכל מידה רעה ומכל חטא. So, לא די ממה שהחטא בו מפורסם וגלוי, אלא גם ממה שהלב נפתע בו להורות יותר בדבר. So basically, let's explain again. We explained what is zehirut. Zehirut, being cautious, paying attention, is basically midat. So we said, the first, you have a field. The first thing you do is take out the boulders. That's what Ramchal is saying here. We've started off with the first character of zehirut. How do I stop doing the things that I know I don't want to do? I know are wrong. A lot of us know things that are wrong, but we still do it. So the first step, get rid of the boulders. Okay? That is Zeirut. Now when we talked about Zeirut,
You mean like because it's dangerous in the field?
don't eat not kosher. Right? Like what when I mean boulders, I mean there's things that everyone knows you should not eat not kosher, right? Or everyone knows that. Right? That's something that's pretty obvious. But I'm not doing that. Okay? So Zeirut explains to you how do you yes, do it. Motivation, everything else.
Like Lashon Hara also.
Wow, we're going to get there. Lashon Hara is a complicated one. I'll explain to you why in a minute.
And it's hard to tell because sometimes it thinks like you should talk about certain things.
Exactly, it's complicated. We'll get there in a minute. It's a very good. You're bringing up a very important point. Thank you for the drink. This is wonderful. Baruch Leilui Nishmat Chaya Bat Shaul v'Miriam. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam she'akol niya midbaro. So basically, when it comes to Zeirut, we're talking about Zeirut means, when we talked about Zeirut, we said when you go into a store, right, and you're looking for a shirt. So first you go into the store and you say, I don't like this shirt, I like this shirt. I don't like that. That's called pishpush. The Ramchal says when you are in this world and there's a lot of complicated challenges in this world that we live in, a lot of moral difficulties. It's true. So first thing you got to do is to sift between the good and the bad, right? So like you're sifting, you come into a store, you're looking for a shirt. First, you look through the shirts and you say, I don't want this, I don't want that, I want this. That's called pishpush. Once you take that shirt, you know you want it.
As long as it doesn't have a pishpesh.
That's called pishpush. No, that's the mishmush. Mishmush is ready to check to make sure that the material is good, that it doesn't have a pishpesh, doesn't have bugs on it, or right. So the shatnez. The first stage that you do is to first sift between good and bad. That's what we did. The second stage is to go and, in other words, good and bad. Now I take the good. How do I make the good better? Right? You don't want to just stick with the bad. You want to take the good. You have to sift between good and bad. And now take the good and refine it. That's where we are with Nekiyut. Nekiyut is basically, we're going back to Zlizut, and we're refining it. So it's a more refined level of what is, so we went through the field, we got rid of the boulders, we planted the seeds, and now we're going through again, and we're going through the small stones. The question is, why didn't we just do Zeirut, right? Take away the boulders. Do another.
Take away the stone.
Another, how do you say, a sweeping.
Another sweep, yeah.
Another sweep to get rid of the small stones. And then plant. Why does the Ramchal, this is the Pinchas ben Yair, one of the Tanaim. Why is the order Zeirut, Zrizut, and then Nekiyut? What do you think? Because it would make perfect sense. You go,
If you don't do the Zehirut first, you can't become Zariz. You have all this, it's like...
No, but we're saying Zeirut you do first. We're saying the order of Zeirut makes sense. Why Zeirut is first makes sense. Why is Nekiyut come after the Zrizut?
Well, maybe it's like this, that when you try to force a change or you try to force an act, something different in your life, right? This is a guide to becoming a better person. So let's say you know you're a bad person, you know you have your faults, and you know you have your averos that you struggle with, and you decide, I want to be a good person today, I'm going to get rid of all my averos. The first time you slip up one time with one avera, everything goes out the window because it was an all or nothing game, and you lost.
That's interesting.
If you can take out the big ones, and you can start to make some progress, and you can start to grow a little bit and make some progress, and you can see, like, I'm making a difference, and there's some progress here, then you can worry about the smaller details.
Very nice. Any other ideas? It's a nice idea.
Nikiyut is cleanliness.
Cleanliness means a more refined. In other words, let's just go back a little bit. So what I learned was, the interesting thing is that basically, what is Nikiyut? Nikiyut is there's a lot of things in our lives that are wrong, and we're sure that they're right. Why? Because society says they're right. Right? For example, we ended off, this is important for you to know, Pinchas, that each character has 4 parts. Understanding the overview of the character, understanding the details of what you have to do, and then motivating yourself to do it, and then upkeep, keep, and maintenance. So when we talked about Zeirut and the upkeep and maintenance, we said there's 3 things that make you lose your ability to pay attention, to be a thinking person who thinks before he does. What are the three things? Becoming a workaholic, becoming a joker, making fun and jokes of everything, nothing has meaning, and the society that you are part of. Who are your friends? Who is the social environment that you choose to be with? And if they think so, and that's where it ended. So we're picking up from here. Basically, nikiyut is a whole list of things that society says is accepted. For example, like, what remind me your name again?
David Natan Hayes.
David Natan was saying. What about nekiyut? What about lashon hara? Lashon hara is something that most people, society, think it's okay to talk about as long as it's not a lie. If it's something that is lashon hara, if they think if it's something that is true, then it's not lashon hara. So nekiyut is going through a whole list in our character, in our relationships, in how do you say, it's the longest chapter of this book, the 11th chapter. Right now we're in the overview, but there are a lot of things that society, the culture, the surroundings will say it's okay. And because people say that it's okay, we think it's okay. And therefore, it's very difficult to acknowledge that there is a mistake here. In other words, if you decide you don't want to speak lashon hara, and somebody says to you, "Oh, let me tell you a story about this guy who did this and this," and you say, "No, listen, I'm really trying to not have lashon hara." Now, one of the rules of lashon hara is, why are you speaking about it? Is there a purpose? Are you talking because you're emotionally having a hard time and you need to share it with your therapist or your rabbi or a close friend? What is the purpose? Is it just for the sake of it's interesting, it's fun? You're not allowed to, right? You have to be it has to have a purpose. Are you talking about this person because you want to think of a way to help him? So now, if you say, I don't want to hear lashon hara, somebody says to you, oh, you became like, psh, you're this holy person now. You went to yeshiva, you went to Machon Meir, you came back, you think you're better than everybody. No, I'm just trying to do what's expected of a Jew. There's a story my rabbi told that when he came here to Merkaz Arav after the Yom Kippur War, he came exactly when they were eating lunch. He sat down for lunch, and there was two people sitting right here, and he sat over here. And this guy says to this guy, I have a story about this guy I have to tell you. You won't believe what he did, the craziest thing. And this guy sitting here says, I'm grateful you want to share with me a story, but I don't want to hear lashon hara. No, you have to hear. It's the best story. Everyone was laughing. I appreciate that you want to share with me softly, nicely. I don't want to hear the story lashon hara. And it goes on and on until finally the guy gives up, says, okay, fine, I won't tell you. Who was that person, my rabbi said? Rav Dov Begun. He was the person saying, I don't want to hear it. This is like 50 years ago, right? So not speaking lashon hara is one example. There's a big list of things that we all are sure that okay. Now, the reason why the zlizut is stuck in the middle, like why'd you put this here? Zlizut, the excitement, the passion. Because if you're gonna have to give up on certain things that you get enjoyment from, you're not gonna be able to do that unless you already have the excitement and the enjoyment of your service of God. So the order of the Ramchal here, why does this come after this? Not Ramchal, Pinchas Ben Yair. Why is the order like this? Is very, very precise. Because to take out the boulders, you can do that easily. But to take out these things that you're getting a lot of pleasure with. Oh, I didn't know. You're not allowed to I remember an amazing story. Maybe 18 years ago. I came to my rabbi and because I got a job to teach at a girls' school. So I came to my rabbi and I said, Rabbi, what book should I teach them? And he said, teach Messilat Yesharim. It's the most important, the fundamentals of Judaism and building character, and there's nothing greater. That's, the number one book. Okay? So I'm teaching. I teach the first chapter, first character, Zeirut. I keep going to Zrizut. Everything's wonderful. I get to Nekiyut. I'm teaching the 11th chapter, and he says, one of the things you don't know is you're actually not allowed to talk to women. It's not a simple thing. It's not, nobody knows that. You're not supposed to have be like friends with a woman, just for the sake of a friendship.
Let's say for you work and you
If it's
teach their children.
if it's work or you teach their children, or if it has to have I'm coming here to talk about my child, and she's my teacher, and I can talk with her. It has to have a purpose. But you're not allowed to just have a friendship and hang out and talk with a woman. It has to have a purpose. It has to be very specific and very to the point, without all the extra, things around. So I'm learning this. I come to my rabbi. I say, Rabbi, I'm teaching women, and here it says that you're not allowed to
But teaching women Torah isn't the same as having a conversation.
So my rabbi says to me, well, since you asked, to teach women, you have to either be a big tzaddik or a big Rasha. And you're not this and you're not that. So, or be old and ugly. So, sorry, you can't do it. Which is very interesting because the story you mentioned, Hillel and Shammai, where he says, tell me the whole Torah on one foot. That same guy comes to Hillel and he says, this non-Jewish person walks by and he hears kids reading something, and they're reading about the clothing of the Kohen Gadol. He comes to Shammai and says, convert me so I can wear the clothes of the Kohen Gadol. He takes him, says, get out of my face. Get out of here. Comes to Hillel, convert me so I can wear the clothes of Kohen Gadol. Sure, no problem. First we have to learn a little bit. He starts learning the Aleph Bet, start learning, they're reading the Torah, and they're going months and months, and then suddenly they come to the part where it says, and if a Jew would wear the clothes of the Kohen Gadol, he would be killed. And this non-Jewish person says, if a Jew can't do it, then me, I for sure would be killed. He says, you're right, you're not allowed to wear the clothes. Oh, and he ended up obviously converting. So which is very similar to my rabbi, because I said to my rabbi, why didn't you just tell me that I'm not allowed to teach women when I asked you? He says, you didn't ask me if I should teach or not. You asked me, what should I teach? If you ask me what to teach, I'll tell you what to teach. If you ask me, can I do this? I'll tell you whether you can or can't. Obviously, you weren't ready at that moment to be told not to do this. Because like you said, you have to go through a process. You have to be willing to give up on something that is hard for you.
I have a question.
What are you getting in return?
That reminds me of the story in Shoftim, when with the Pelegish of
Giva, yeah.
When once that story happens and the Bnei Israel, they unite and they want to fight against Benjamin, and they go also I think to the Kohen, and they ask Hashem the question, who of us should go first to fight against Benjamin? And they say Yehuda, and they fight against the Benjamin, they get defeated. And then they are like, oh, why did it happen? Ask Hashem again. Hashem, what happened? Like basically, I think they ask again why should they ask again who should go next. They get defeated again. This is also like the same thing. They didn't ask Hashem, should we go to fight Benjamin? Ask who should go. So like
very nice.
The same thing. Like,
so that's an incredible story.
Makes a big difference.
But obviously the rabbis, they know. He knew I wasn't ready for that. Yeah.
You said that if there's a purpose, right? If they teach your children or
exactly, it has to have a reason.
So
a doctor
isn't teaching Torah the best reason?
Yeah, but there's enough other teachers, and it harms the women, the girls, if they have a young, rabbi and they're flirting with him, and they fall in love with it happens a lot, where the young girls fall in love with the rabbis, and they can't actually find a marriage because they have this idea of their charismatic young rabbi who is all, and he doesn't. My rabbi said it harms them, because then they have this vision of like the guy they're looking for, and it's not very, very good. And there's enough women teachers, and there's enough old rabbi teachers. I heard from Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu, he would teach women, he would look in the book, and for an hour, 2 hours, just sit and teach. He wouldn't even look at anybody. Like, he's in another place. So it's not simple, but again, that was my rabbi. Everyone has to ask their rabbi what's right for them. It's a personal thing. So anyway, so we said, so basically what we're explaining, what is Nekiut? Right now we're learning the 10th chapter is the overview, because we said each character has 4 parts. The overview, the detail, what you have to do, which is the 11th chapter. This 10th chapter is the overview. The overview is we're saying that there are a lot of things that we say, no, thank you. a lot of things that we do that we justify, and we don't realize that we are bribed, that we have, that the reason why we're saying it's okay is because we are personally, how do you say in Hebrew? You say nogea b'davar.
You're involved.
I have a personal involvement. So the reason why I'm saying this is okay and that's okay because I still have a desire. I have a personal involvement. So a person can justify.
Amen.
Amen. So basically, we're saying there's a lot of people that are us as human beings. We're human. We have to remember what it says that the bribery. It says in the Torah, "Hashochad yever enei chachamim v'yisalef divrei tzadikim." Bribery will change the words of the wise. Yaver enei chachamim will blind the eyes of the wise. V'yisalef divrei tzadikim, and change the words of a righteous person.
Let's say someone gives gifts to the Levite or a Kohen, and they still do something like that.
We're talking about a judge. You're not allowed to give bribery to what the Torah and that pasuk is talking about. You're not allowed to give bribery to a judge. A judge could say, I'll take the money. He'll give me like a gift, and I'll take it. And what's the big deal? I'm going to still make a judgment of what's right. You don't realize that once you've taken that bribery, you're bribed. You're blinded, and you will change your words, and you will say things that you really don't mean because you have a self-interest. So
it was weird. Like I was, getting we helped my Ima get treatment. Like, and this lady was the medical coordinator and everything like that. But then she took us to a hotel, or she wanted to take my children and wife to a pool and everything like that. So is that like considered a gift or anything like that, or
for what?
I don't
A
know.
judge we're talking about.
Only
You have a
judge.
court case.
Right.
You have a court case. You're not allowed to bribe the judge. That's like a simple understanding that you can't bribe the judge, because the bribery will change his verdict. He will change without being aware of it, even if he really wants to do the right thing. Because he's bribed, he will change his words. It blinds you. So what Ramchal is saying here, that we are all blinded. Unfortunately, we're blinded by our desires, our whether it's the physical desires or it's the right. But when we look into it in depth, we'll actually discover that it's wrong, and it's like we're bribed in an unconscious way, right? That's why you have to be on guard. You have to make sure that you are not saying what's wrong is right and right is wrong. So what does he say? But a person who really cleans himself out, and cleans himself from the desires. We said the desires is what makes us say it's okay, right? I want to make money, or I want to, I have this desire, so I somehow justify why it's okay. And that is wrong, right? Right? But a person who really cleans himself out, that he will not have his desires that will pull him in the negative way. He'll see clearly, right? And that desire will not pull you to the place you don't want to go to. You'll know it's bad and you'll stay away from it. And that's what it says, that that they won't even have one little small question about it, right? How do you do that? Nekiyeh hadat. You have to use your intellect, right? Clarify. And this is the people in Jerusalem. They would not go to a party unless they knew who was going to be there, right? Who's going to eat with us? Maybe there'll be things that are wrong, right? In other words, most of us, we go into things without really preparing for it. And that's what the message is plan, prepare. right? We know the big mistake that happened, Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. Why were the rabbis there? The rabbis were punished for not saying anything. Everyone knows the story of Kamsa Bar Kamsa.
I recognize the name. I don't remember the story.
It's a story. It says, why was the temple destroyed? Because there was two guys, Kamsa and Bar Kamsa, that hated each other like nobody else. And by mistake, the mailman sent a letter to Bar Kamsa inviting him to the simcha of Kamsa. And then at the party, he was there. He's like, wow, he's calling me to become friends again. They were like the worst enemies. And then he says, I'm here. Don't throw me out. I'll pay for my meal. I'll pay for the whole event. Just don't embarrass me in front of everybody. He embarrassed him. He threw him out. And then it says, and the rabbis didn't say a word, and that was why the temple was destroyed. And they say, so the rabbis were punished for not saying something. Don't let him throw him out. Say, if you throw him out, we're leaving also. Or like they didn't say anything. But the question is, why did they even go there? Why are you going to a party of such a terrible person? Terrible person that can do something like this, right? So you need to think, where am I going? Why am I going? Who are the surrounding? Who are the people that I'm associating myself with? Right? Like, unfortunately, you need charity, but it doesn't excuse it to take money from a person who's a mafia, a murderer, or all kinds of things that are destroying people's lives. So he says, now you see the difference between what we said, zehirut to naki. They're very close to each other, right? It's the same subject, but there's a difference. A person that's careful is a person that is careful from what is famous, what is known, what is, right? Like Shabbos, you have to keep Shabbos or kosher. Everybody knows that. But that person is still not a free person. Again, remember what we said about this book. This book was written by Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, the rabbi that his occupation was freeing prisoners. Pidyon Shvuim. It says that the worst suffering that anybody can go through is a person that is in captivity. And Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair used to go and take people out of captivity. Here he's taking us out of captivity.
Who's Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair?
The book, this whole book,
I thought it's by Rabbi Moshe Chaim.
Rabbi Moshe Chaim Lutzato is explaining the Braita of Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. If you look in the introduction, you'll see that the whole book is based on the words of the Braita of Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, which is in the Gemara Avodah Zarah. It's in many places in the Gemara, but the source that he brings is the Pinchas ben Yair. So basically, Pinchas ben Yair would take people out of slavery. Yair also into the light. His name is Pinchas ben Yair. Pinchas, you're here in the right class. Pinchas ben Yair, he would enlighten people. They were in the bondage, they were in the prisons, and he would go and get them out. And basically what he's saying is that
it's funny because the person I'm named for, my great uncle, Rav Pinchas Teitz, did the same thing for Russian Jews.
Wow.
What did he do?
He would go to Russia and he would smuggle in denims so that they can have a livelihood. He would try to sneak them sidorim. He would try to get them out of captivity if they were in camps.
Wow. It's a big schut.
I guess it's a Pinchas thing.
Pinchas, it's to take action, to take Pinchas.
Pinchas
was the Kanai, he was the Zelik, and he was, he's
do what has
it's a
to be
powerful
done.
name. Yeah, do has to be done. So basically, we're saying a person that only has Zehirut and doesn't have Nekiyut is a person that is still, you're not your own master. And the idea here is to make you become your own master, become a leader, become free, become a person that you make your decisions, you make what's right, and not basically your desires lead you or your, right? So he's saying unless you have cleanliness, then you'll say a lot of things are okay because you think you're doing it because you believe it's okay, but when you really dig down, you'll discover I'm saying it's okay because my desires are really the ones that are convincing me to do it. This person is a serious person. You're trying to control your desires. You're trying to control your physical needs. You're a serious person. ולא יוכל לשים ליבו הטבה הגופנית. But here we're talking about actually how do you change your nature. When we spoke about this in the first chapter, in the introduction. When we say change your nature, we're saying change your nature, your external nature, to return to your true nature. Like we said, a person who smokes, when he smokes, he feels good, relaxed. When he doesn't smoke, he feels sick, he's coughing, he's angry. So what's his nature? Is his nature to smoke or is his nature not to smoke? The answer is he created a new nature. His nature is to smoke now. He has to go through a difficult time to go back to his true nature. So when we say that, that and if you want to go back to if you want to really change your nature, it can't happen just with zeirut and zrizut. It has to happen nekiyut. You have to go to the third level of actually ask yourself the difficult questions. Are these things okay? Or am I just telling myself it's okay because I'm bribed? For example, living out of Israel. Why are you allowed to live out of Israel? There's 5 million Jews in New York. What else do you want? Well, it's okay. No, there is no excuse to not live in Israel.
I mean, my wife and children are there, and I still don't excuse it.
So we're saying is there's a lot of things, and we'll get to the list. It's a big list of things that people think are okay. People are sure it's okay. By the way, an interesting story that most people don't know. If you ever go into a Chabad house, a serious Chabad person, you'll see a tzedakah box that's drilled into the wall. And if you ask the person, why do you have a tzedakah box drilled into the wall? Why not just put it on the table? Why do you have to drill it into the wall?
No one can take it.
And nobody knows the answer to this.
There's some story. I've heard it one time. I forgot.
So here's the story.
Maybe it holds up the wall.
Someone wrote to the Lubavitcher Rebbe a question. It says, כל הדר בחוץ לארץ כאילו אין לו אלוקה, דומה כמי שאין לו אלוקה. A person lives out of Israel as if you don't have God. How do we understand this, Rabbi? And the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, as long as you're ready for Mashiach to come and you're ready to leave at that second, you're okay. You're not considered somebody that's like, you don't have a God. So this person was an honest person. Said to the rabbi, you're talking about being ready to leave everything. Right? Leave my house, leave my car. Mashiach's here, get on the boat, go. Get on the plane and go. I'm really not ready to do that. So what do I do? He said, it says that the shuls and the houses of learning, atidim, batei knesiot, that will be uprooted and planted in Israel. If your house is a house like a shul and like a place of chesed, in order to do it, you have to drill the tzedakah box into your wall, so your house becomes like a place of chesed, and therefore you will not have to leave all your materialistic belongings. You'll be able to take it all with you.
That's brilliant.
Is this true? Like, all the
This is true.
Knesset are going to come fly here?
I don't know what it means because flying. Maybe they'll sell it and build it here. It just means that you're not going to lose it. You could also sell it, like if you're going to, sell it to build a new shul. I don't know this halachas, but yes, it's not exactly. I don't think it has to be literal. It just means you won't lose the space, maybe. So, so here we're talking about how do you change.
In the Holocaust, in the Shoah, didn't they have or all these countries, Arab countries, they had shuls?
By the way, I have a friend that he's working on a project now of replicating the shuls that were in Germany. And if you want to go see it, it's incredible. And if he can tell you it's a convert who built it. It's a place called Mevoch Haran between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. He built a replica of a shul, and he has a whole bunch of other, like he has the plans for all these actual shul. He wants to build them in Israel. Shuls that were burnt down by the Germans, and you got to go see this. It's incredible. And he built the whole shul with people with special needs. That they built it like a project. It's incredible. He did such a job. Unbelievable.
Maybe he'll rebuild my. I found out recently one of my uncles came to a trip here. This was many years ago. He's not a religious guy. The rest of my family is. He sent back a postcard from one of these Holocaust museums. apparently our last name comes from a city that was destroyed during the Shoah. So if he graduates from B'dei Knesiot to Uriot, then maybe he'll have a city named after me.
And he said, and interesting, and he said his goal is, this friend of mine, to build these replica synagogues in the outposts, because he says these were the shuls that were destroyed during the how do you say the what's it called, the night Crystal Nacht. So he says this will like give stability to these outposts, because nobody will be able to destroy a synagogue that was rebuilt that was destroyed in Crystal Nacht. I don't know if he's correct, but that's his theory. Anyway, it's an interesting project. So this is what he said. Now we said, now he's explaining the order. Why is it? And this is a book of dynamics. The Ramchal is the master of education, the master of systematic, organized program. Now he's explaining to you, why did I jump from Zeirut to Zrizut and then go back to Nekiyut? It doesn't really make sense. When you get used to Hergel Gadol b'Zeirut, עד שינקה ראשון, right? וירגיל לעצמו עבודה בזריזות, ותגבר באהבה, and the love will be aroused in you, באור והחמדה עליו, right? If you want to take away something positive, give me something else, something that I'm enjoying that's wrong, then hand me something else. Like my rabbi told me once, he was in the car with Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, and he was looking for his car keys. Where are they? And the baby was holding the car keys. So he went and grabbed the keys. He has Rav Mordechai Eliyahu to drive him. So he grabs the keys. The baby starts screaming, ah! The rabbi says, turn off the car. Give the kid back the keys. Takes a different toy, gives it to him. The kid dropped the keys and plays with the new toy. And he said that was like an important lesson. Don't take something away without giving something else. If we're going to ask you to give up on things that, a person gets so much enjoyment talking with girls till late at night, how you want me to give up on that? Then, first of all, I got to have joy of connecting with the creator of the world late at night and having a conversation with my creator. I have to have something else what are you giving me as in a replacement? Right? That's why the order is very important. And that's what he says here. You want to put out the fire of the desire, of the lust and the physical desires. You're not going to put it out. That's a long process, right? But when that passion and excitement for God, then you'll be able to see things clearly. You won't be seduced, right, by the materialistic things in this world. By the way, we know there's three things that are the worst things that you can have, like a person can do, are gilu arayot, shfichut damim, and avodah zarah. I don't know how you say it all in English, but the three things are murder, forbidden relations, and idol worship. Those three things have three correspondence.
I thought there was 4 averos you were supposed to die for.
What's the fourth one?
I don't remember. That's why I'm asking you.
No,
there were
3.
The 4 cardinal sins, I thought.
No, there's 3. Shalosh, I think so.
Didn't
There
they
might
say
be.
Lashon Hara is worse than all of them? I don't know, but I don't.
No,
Yeah.
I was taught at some point. I don't remember exactly where or when, but like if someone puts a gun to your head and says you have to do such and such avera, there are 4 averos that you're not supposed to do.
I don't know. We'll look into it. But from what I know, it's 3. Gilur, right? Okay. Now, as opposition to those 3, what do you have? You have avodah zarah. You have avodat Hashem. And the world stands on 3 things: Torah, avodah, and gilui chasadim. So for avodah zarah, you have avodat Hashem. For murder, you have gemilut chasadim. It's the opposite. Instead of killing somebody, I'm giving them life. And for ancestral relations, you have Torah learning. Torah learning is bringing life to the world. Torah learning is like creating life. It's like, so you take all of that energy, all of that desire, and you channel it, like in Tai Chi, you take the negative and you pull it towards you to work for you. You take all of that desire, all of that passion, and you take it and you put it into Torah learning. That is you're creating, you're connected, you're creating life. Right? So therefore, right, Chamasav, And King David was so happy about himself, and he said, my hands are clean. I'm so happy that I can come close to you. Right? This is not. There's a difference. Pride is a terrible thing. Like this woman said to my rabbi, everyone talks about lashon hara, but I don't talk lashon hara, and I feel that I'm so happy that I don't. Am I full of pride? He said, no. That's called simcha shel mitzvah. You're happy that you're doing a mitzvah. It's not pride. So here also King David is saying, I'm clean, and I'm able to come around. I'm able to connect myself, to be attached to God. Only a person that really cleans himself out, he's worthy to see the face of the king. And unfortunately, people think that you can go do spiritual things, learn Kabbalah, all these things, and you have to first. There's a halacha. You're not even allowed to learn Torah, teach Torah to somebody who's not a moral person. You're not allowed to teach. In other words, you're allowed to teach, but you're not allowed to bring into the Beit Midrash. You have to first be a healthy, normal human being, that you understand what it is to just be kind to people, just to be a good person, right? Then you could go to the next level. Torah learning is not there to replace normal, moral, natural conduct of being a person, being a ben adam. Yes, what was your question?
Like sometimes I think I get confused. I think I may be wrong. Like sometimes, like I don't know, you see on the news or politics or something like that, and it looks like it's completely morally wrong. Like maybe they're supporting immorality in the school systems with children or something like that.
They are, yeah.
And they have like stuff like that. And then there's specific people.
What are you asking? But what's the question?
Like to say negative things about the people who are promoting these things.
Again, are you saying negative things because do you have a reason for it? Is it maybe it's to people don't know, to explain it, so people should know that the Ministry of Education is involved in teaching our kids all kinds of garbage? That's a mitzvah. Right. The laws are that's why they're complicated. Right. You need to learn the laws. And it's not just black or white. Yes, no, here you talk, here you don't. Okay, it's
kind of like what my dad tells me. He says, when you're complaining, are you complaining for the sake of complaining, or are you complaining because you want to make things better?
And it's like they say, if you're not part of the solution, you're the problem. You ever hear that?
So I could be like saying negative things about like politicians when elections coming up, and I know
explaining someone's going to vote for them. You have a mitzvah. That person. That's why a person has a mitzvah. Every person who votes has a mitzvah to be like a judge and make a decision. What is the most moral decision? That's why there's a mitzvah to learn who are who, what are their policies, what have they done in the past. That's not lashon hara. It says that the part of the reason why we fast on Tzom Gedalia, because the last holding of the Jewish authority in Israel was Gedalia ben Achikam, and he didn't want to hear lashon hara, and there was someone that was going to kill him, and he's like, I don't want to know. Don't tell me lashon hara. And he should have taken precaution. He should have listened. It's not just the law. I don't hear anything. I don't say anything. You talk a lot, but you talk positively. I just want to finish this here. So he says, it's hard. He says, I'm not saying it's easy. Midazot kasha kiteva adam chalash. We are weak, and our desires are weak, and we're easy to say things are okay that are not. In other words, we understand. Right? We have all kinds of ways to explain why things are okay. Like it says, a person is able to see all the bad things in the world besides the bad things in himself. Right? And it's not simple. However, reach this level, he's fought a big battle, and now we will explain it step by step and going into details. That's the next week, or I don't know. I'm leaving next week, so I'm going to try to see if I can teach Sunday or Monday. I'm taking my wife and kids to Eilat for a little vacation, so I'll see if I can teach Sunday or Monday. So we just keep the order, because then the following week I'm not here. So
have it.
Thank you.